सदाशिवसमारम्भाम् शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। So, with the blessings of God, we are going to start the study of Upanishad. Upanishads, they are the most ancient and fundamental text of our entire religion and culture. They are the basic foundation of our entire heritage. These are the source books of knowledge. And another word for Upanishads is Vedanta. Many a times when they say I am going to study Vedanta now, it invariably means the philosophy which has been given out in the Upanishads. All the Upanishads, they are part of Vedas. And they are the philosophical part of Vedas. Vedas, they are the book of knowledge. The word Veda means the book of knowledge. It comes from the root vid, which means to know. We today call it the book of knowledge. But when it was written, it was not in the form of a book. It was in the form of the teaching from the teachers to the students. The book form was not there earlier, because this entire tradition is such ancient that even paper was not discovered at that time. So this was pre-paper tradition. And the earliest papers which were discovered were the barks of the tree or the leaves of the tree. The ancient manuscripts which are discovered today by the archaeologists who excavate various places, so they found these manuscripts which were written on papers. When I visited, Himalayas and Uttarkashi, Gangotri, just before Gaumukh from Gangotri to Gaumukh, it's an 18 kilometers walk in the mountains and the glaciers, all snow, ice. So there a unique tree is grown, and the bark of that tree, it comes out very nicely like a paper. And it is so common there that when you go to a tea stall and you request for some pakoras along with your chai, so they don't give it in newspaper, they give it in the bark of that tree. It is so common. So every tea stall will have some tree behind, and he'll ask his assistant, go and get the bark now. So he'll go and scratch the bark and make cups out of that, and he'll give you snacks in that. It is so common there. So the first manuscripts were found in that tree bark or even leaves. And at that time I wonder, it must have been a great achievement that, now we have found a paper to write down the teachings of my Guruji. Before that, it was not there. And the tradition of teaching came down by Karna Parampara, by listening to their teacher. So the first class was not about giving the meaning, it was to chant the mantras. So whether it is Upanishad, whether it is Dharma Shastra, Yoga Sutra, or any Shastra, all of them, they come in sutra form. Very small, crispy sutras are there. And the student has to learn those sutras or mantras. And once you have learnt, then the teacher will start explaining those. Because there was no paper, no books. There was the only way out. So very amazing tradition of chanting the mantras, it has also over the time grown, and it became very specialized. Today there are Vedic, the priests, pandits, scholars who are expert in chanting the mantras. It's an amazing thing. It's very unique. And during this time, we are also going to start that Vedic chanting for you. You will learn that tradition of chanting the mantras. Vedic mantra chanting is a different class altogether. It's different from chanting the shlokas and all that. So that thing also we are going to give exposure of that to you this time. And all these mantras. So the teaching of Upanishads was the ultimate. That is the highest class. So therefore I said, with the blessings of God, we are immediately going to jump to that teaching of Upanishads. Basically Vedas, the book of knowledge, it has 4 sections from subject point of view. And the first part of Vedas, they are called Mantra Bhag, Mantra section. The Mantra section of Vedas is an inspired poetry, is the vision of the awakened people. So that which is the transcendental, timeless truth of this creation. So the rishis, they investigated that, meditated on that, and discovered that. once you wake up to that ultimate reality, at that time, how do you see the world? What you see about yourself, about the world? So that inspired poetry is in the mantra section. And it talks about everything in life. It talks about the truth of life, it talks about your truth, your mind and the connectivity of everything. It's something very amazing, beautiful. The second section of Veda, it is called as Brahmana and Aranyaka, and the fourth is Upanishads. So mantra, Aranyaka, Brahmana and Upanishad. These are the four sections of Vedas. The Upanishads are in the last. They are the final culmination of Vedas. So they are also called as Vedanta. The Anta, the culmination. Anta word is not only the physical end, but it also implies the culmination of Vedas. The culmination of the knowledge of Vedas. That is the Upanishads. But before that, there is this mantra section. There is this Brahmana, Aranyaka. These two are there. The Aranya section of the Upanishads, they talk about the meditations, upasanas. So the inspiring meditations, inspirational meditations, that is the section of Aranyaka. Basically, developing your mind, making your mind subtle, quiet, focused, concentration, and all that. So all the Aranyakas, they talk about basically that Vidya. And the Brahmana, it talks about the karmas, what a person should do in life. What are your duties, and duties of different people, different levels, different age, all that kind of thing. Worldly activities, activities of an householder, duties, and activities of a retired person, of a sannyasi, and everything. Various karmas, they are talked in Brahmanas. So mantra does not talk about any Vidya itself. It's an inspirational section. And it is very respected. Brahmanas talk about karma, Aranyakas talk about upasana, and Upanishads, they talk about pure knowledge. So that is in brief the overview of Vedas. Now Vedas, they are of four kinds. There are four Vedas: Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, and Atharva Veda. The difference, the criteria of classification is, number one, the time scale. The most ancient one was the Rig Veda. And second was the meters in which the mantras were written. The content of all of them is same. Subject matter of all of them is same. But it is the meters in which the Sanskrit mantras were written and chanted also. The Samaveda, for example, is all predominated by the singing capacity of mantras. So they are sung. Samveda is, most beautiful to hear. It is sung in a beautiful way. So the chanting of all the mantras, they become very different. So today, there are schools of the chanting of Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samveda and Atharva Veda. And you can identify which mantra is going, which Veda is being chanted by that chanting style. So, the Samveda is chanted in such a way, it wonders, I wonder that the chanting of Quran which goes on in the masjids, in the mosques, is very similar to that. I wonder whether, they have got some inspiration from Samveda Pandits. It is so similar. So, of course, that is of a recent origin and this is much more ancient, and therefore the inspiration possibly came from here. Anyway, I'm not worried much about that, but I'm talking about the unique chanting styles of all the Vedas. And by the way, we are from the Yajurveda school. My teachers there taught us the Yajurveda chanting. And in Yajurveda also, there were two schools. Krishna Yajurveda chanting style and Shukla Yajurveda chanting style. So there are so many schools, so many styles of chanting. And the Panditji, who came to teach us, I am not confined to that, but I have got exposure of the chanting of mantra from the Krishna Yajurveda school. So there is a Shukla Yajurveda, which is very common in North India, and the Krishna Yajurveda, which is very common in South India. So the Panditji, the Vedic Pandit who came to my ashram to teach us, was from the Krishna Yajurveda tradition. And that is what we are going to teach you also. Few mantras, not too much, but those Pandits, they devote their entire lives only for chanting. And they use their chanting basically in rituals. But at least, they have done one thing. They have preserved those mantras. And the chanting is so perfect that you cannot miss even half a matra. Itna perfect. And that where is the comma, and the full stop, and the apostrophe, and the pause, everything is conveyed through chanting. And therefore it is amazing that thousands of years, even the scholars from the Western countries, when they come, they say minimum Rig Veda is 5,000 years old. 5,000 to 10,000. Recently somebody said 10,000 years. So 10,000 years BC. At that time they were chanting and teaching all these Upanishads and Vedas. So such is the ancient tradition. This is the interpretation of Western scholars. We don't believe that. We personally believe that Veda is the knowledge given by God in the beginning of creation to some people, selected people. So these are not written, these are not man-made. They are so amazing. And it is very logical also. Anything which is man-made will not continue for a long time. It decays, It's only relevant to a particular time. It's not relevant to all the times. And when you study Upanishads, you realize that this is something which is timeless. So amazing. So, this knowledge has been coming down from Sada Shiva Samarambham. The shloka which we chanted right now, we believe, we sing this, that this knowledge which my teacher is going to give me now is the knowledge which Sada Shiva Samarambham. It started right from God Himself. Shankaracharya Madhyamam. In the middle of this entire amazing great tradition, we had the great teachers like Shankaracharya, Asmadacharya Paryantam, and it has been coming down to my teacher. Such is the ancient heritage and tradition of this knowledge. And in the end, that shloka says, Vande Guru Parampara. I bow down and salute and do namaskar to the entire tradition of teachers who have been responsible not only to give me this knowledge, but to see to it that it comes down to me. In this present 21st century, today I have got Upanishads and Vedas in my hand. And therefore I need to salute all those people who made it possible that this knowledge comes down to me. So many things have been lost in the world. But it's so amazing that this knowledge has come down. It has continued. Its existence has come down to me. So, this is the history of Upanishads. So, in this Upanishads, out of the 4 Vedas, some Upanishads, they have been selected by the great teachers that this is a master study. You need to study this. It's so amazing and beautiful in order to get the vision of life. Shankaracharya ji, he was one of the great teachers and he selected 10 Upanishads. 10 Upanishads out of these 4 Vedas. And out of, the Yajurveda was selected this Ishawashya. Ishawashya Upanishad, it comes under Yajurveda. Yajurveda, the chanting style is different, but basically Yajurveda is same. The chanting style, there, the difference of Shukla and the Krishna will come. Otherwise, the mantras are same in both of them. And you can even note down that what are the other famous Upanishads in other Vedas. In the Rig Veda, the Upanishads which was selected by Shankaracharya as an important one was Aitreya Upanishad. So from Rig Veda, Aitreya Upanishads. And from the Yajurveda, he selected 4 Upanishads. The first is Ishawashya, second is Taittiriya Upanishad, third is Kathopanishad, and the fourth is Brahadaranyaka Upanishad. So, Yajurveda, it contributed the most of the Upanishads, 4 Upanishads, the highest out of any Upanishad, any Vedas. So the first was Ishawashya, second is Taittiriya Upanishads, beautiful Upanishad. Third is Katho Upanishad. And the fourth is Brahad Aranyaka Upanishad. Next was Samaveda, the third Veda, Samaveda. Two Upanishads were selected out of Samaveda, which were Kena Upanishad and Chandogya Upanishad. So Kena Upanishad and Chandogya Upanishad, they were selected from the Samaveda tradition as a master study, so beautiful and important. And finally, out of the Atharva Veda, three Upanishads were selected. They were Mundaka Upanishad, second was Mandukya Upanishad, third was Prashna Upanishad. So, in all, these three were from Atharva Veda. I'll again repeat. From Atharva Veda, the first was Mundaka Upanishad, second was Mandukya Upanishad, and the third was Prashna Upanishad. So how many you have now in total? Rigved, Atharva, Aitreya, Yajurved 4, Isha, Taitreya, Katha and Brihadaranyaka, Samaveda, Chandogya and Kena, and Atharva Veda has three Upanishads, Mundaka, Mandukya and Prashna. Now another thing, very important general knowledge correlating to these things is, from all the four Vedas, 4 Mahavakyas were collected. Very profound statements. They were called as Mahavakya. And they were selected out of each Veda. These 4 Mahavakyas, they are studied in all these ashrams, gurukuls. Lot of books and research books have been, ancient books have been written on these 4 Mahavakyas, and they're very, very respected. Profound statements. These Mahavakyas from the Rig Veda came out one Mahavakya which was Prajnanam Brahma. Obviously it is from the Aitreya Upanishad. So Aitreya Upanishad, it gives us the first Mahavakya which is from the Rig Veda. The second Mahavakya, very famous, it comes from Samaveda, Chandogya Upanishad. Chandogya Upanishad, it gives us a Mahavakya which is called as Tat Tvam Asi. So it is one of the most famous of all these 4 Mahavakyas, this particular one. So, Tattvamasi, that thou art, you are that. So this Mahavakya, it comes in Chandogya Upanishad, which is a part of Samaveda. The third Mahavakya comes from Atharva Veda. In Atharva Veda, and specifically the Mandukya Upanishad, there the Mahavakya is Ayam Atma Brahma. Ayam Atma Brahma is a statement from Mandukya Upanishads, and this has been selected by the Acharyas as the third famous Mahavakya, highly respected and worthy of profound deep meditation. Ayam Atma Brahma. The final fourth Mahavakya comes from the Yajurveda, and the Upanishad is Brihadaranyaka. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad of Yajurveda, it gives us the fourth famous Mahavakya, which is the Aham Brahmasmi. So that Mahavakya is Aham Brahmasmi. So which are the four Mahavakyas now? Number one is Prajnanam Brahma from Maitreya Upanishad of Rig Veda. The second is Tattvamasi of Chandogya Upanishad from Samaveda. The third is Ayam Atma Brahma from Mandukya Upanishad of Atharva Veda. And the final is Aham Brahmasmi from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad of Yajurveda. Yes. Now the brief meaning of all these four Mahavakyas. Brahma is the word used by the Upanishads for that which is the truth, the biggest. That which is the timeless reality, which never born, doesn't die, which is infinite, which is transcendental. So that reality, when they are pointing your attention to that, they'll use the word Brahman. And this Brahma, in English when you say Brahman, but in Sanskrit the word is Brahma, not Brahma. Brahma, the meaning changes. Brahma, the one matra, the meaning is in Sanskrit is so perfect language, so the complete meaning changes. So the word is Brahma. Brahma. And he says, what is Brahma? So the teacher there in Maitreya Upanishad, he points out, Prajnanam Brahma. Prajnanam is consciousness. Pure consciousness is called Prajnanam. So consciousness is Brahma. That what you are conscious of is the changing world. That by which you are conscious is the permanent reality, the infinite reality, the truth of yourself and the truth of life. So he says, in any experience, there is an object of your experience and there is the consciousness by which you are knowing everything. Today you are a conscious entity, a living entity. It is because of this life principle, the consciousness, because of which we are blessed with life. We become living beings. This consciousness, this life principle, he says it is not a product of chemistry, as many scientists believe, that it is just, initial chemical reaction of the protoplasm and what all, the DNA and RNA, and suddenly consciousness starts manifesting. So Vedas say we humbly differ. The Rishis say no, sir. Consciousness was the first thing which is the truth. everything comes thereafter. This is the fundamental difference between the scientific fraternity, the perception of life in the scientific world and the spiritual world. We have to believe that consciousness is before. Even for a inert protoplasm and cellular activities to take place, you need life. Who is giving life to even for that cellular activity to take place? So you have to believe that that principle of life is prior to anything which is happening in the creation. It is the truth. It is the reality. And by itself, if you believe that consciousness was there before the creation also, how big is consciousness? How vast is consciousness? So you have to say that at that time there was no time and space also. And you cannot measure consciousness in time. You cannot measure consciousness in space. It is so big, it is all pervasive. You cannot even use those words. It transcends time and space. Or in other words, with reference to space, it is infinite. With reference to time, it is transcendental. It is there in all places, it is there in all times. And by itself, it has no limitation of time or space. So this knowledge, this awareness, these profound revelations were there regarding Brahma. They were talking on that level, at this profound, philosophical heights. So this is, the very concept of Brahman, which is not there today. I was reading the Big Bang theory, which is presented by the scientists. Today they believe, in the beginning of creation there was a Big Bang, and all the planets, still they are going further away and going and going and going, because initially a very Big Bang was there. So majority of scientists, they believe about the Big Bang. So I was thinking about that. This is, what are their propositions? What exactly they are trying to say? So they say, that there was a particular time, there was no creation at that time, obviously. And there was some substratum, some substrate there. Some substance was there. Something was there in the beginning. And they say that is the state of singularity. In that moment of singularity, there is no time, there is no space. And then suddenly something happened, and a big bang happened. And thereafter things are moving in different direction, and the various particles, the fusion, the fission of all those particles, and subsequently other molecules and atomic and nuclear molecules, they started forming. And when these electrons were there, and this molecule, it was formed, and when so many electrons are there, different molecules are formed, and that is why we have so many elements, and oxygen and hydrogen and whatnot. So the whole story started from there. So I was found very interesting. I says, well, what is that state of singularity? When there is no time and space. So I started discovering, that Vedic rishis, they are talking about Brahman, where there was no time and space, which transcends time and space. He says, well, they can present their own views with an open mind. I will study that also. I will study this also. But isn't it, amazing and fascinating that 10,000 years when humanity was not around. No scientists were around at that time. Our wisdom of science is so recent. At that time, the propositions of such thing were presented. So this consciousness, this Brahman, is that Pragyana Brahma. So the first Mahavakya is indicating that consciousness is the Brahman, is infinite reality, is the transcendental truth of the whole world. Second Mahavakya, is that Tattvamasi. In the Chandogya Upanishad, the dialogue is going on between teacher and student. Mostly Upanishads, they are in the form of dialogue, one-to-one discussion. Any profound discussion can take place between two people, not for the masses and the world. There I'll have to generalize. Public talk I've got to generalize and tell stories and all that, That is the content of all the public talks. But when you are talking to some particular person of a particular intelligence, then I can afford to go into very details. Upanishads are only one-to-one discussion between a very enlightened master and some student. So very interesting they are. So there's in the Chandogya Upanishads, Uddalaka Rishi and Shvetaketu, they are discussing. In fact, there is father and son. Uddalaka Rishi was the father. And Shvetaketu, he came back after his studies. He was sent to school, Gurukul. And when he came back, the father asked, "Well, my dear boy, have you studied everything?" He says, "Yes, I have studied everything. Whatever there has to be known, I have known everything." So he found a stink of arrogance there. He says, "Really? Have you studied everything?" He says, "Yes, I have studied everything." So he asked few questions. "Do you know that?" So he was very foxed and surprised. He said, "No, I don't know. I have not even heard such a question, That was maybe not out of my course, and maybe my Guruji did not know that." So the father smiled. He says, "Okay, forget it, doesn't matter. Maybe your Guruji will tell you all these things later on." So he, changed the topic. So the son says, No. It seems you know that. You please tell me that." So when the son, he transformed into a disciple. Son can be friendly, And basically the relationship between son and father is different. Requirements, taking care and lovingly, worldly requirements, whether you have taken food or whether you have all the requirements, and whether I need to send some money to you, and are you taking care of your health. So all my worldly well-being is being looked after, fathered by them. But when you become a student, the relationship is different. It's nothing to do with worldly requirements now. It's got to do with your knowledge. And it starts with a profound humility and aspiration to know. So Shvetaketu was transformed into a student, Shishya. And then his father started giving him some updesh. Very interesting. And in that whole teaching, he reveals the Brahman. He points out to Brahman and says, "Tattvamasi Shvetaketu." You are not this fellow, you are not this individual, you are that. So this statement he says 9 times. Tattvamasi Shvetaketu, Tattvamasi. Different examples, different way, 9 times. And so that, there's no doubt in his mind using different logic, using different examples, and pointing out to the same fact that never take yourself to be one small individual. This physical body, this human intellect and capacities, you are not that. You are something else. You are that. So, the entire teachings of our religion and our philosophy is to help a person realize, I am that embodiment of love and joy. I am that. And thereafter your life should start. That's a healthy life. Otherwise you are living a diseased life. You are living like a petty, small, limited fellow, having their own, kind of problems and complexes and whatnot. And thereafter you live a life of a want. You will achieve few things, certainly. And if you aim for something, work hard, you will achieve that, no problems. No big deal about it. But you continue to remain a wanting fellow. Says, well, my dear boy, you are not a limited fellow. You are not a limited being. You should discover and realize you are that. So that is the essence of the second Mahavakya, Tat-Tvamasi. You are that. Tat-Tvamasi. You are that. The third Mahavakya is from the Atharva Veda, where we can understand that the teaching has taken place. So, there is a sequence in these Mahavakyas also. In the first Mahavakya is called as Surupa Lakshana. It reveals the nature of truth. The second is called as, for the teaching process. Shikshan Mahavakya. For teaching. You are that. The third is, Anubhav. That I am realizing. I am Atma Brahma. This I. The I which is I am means that which is an object of your direct experience is used by the word I am. This. It has to be a matter of your experiencing. I cannot use the word I am for something which is unknown. I am is that which is directly known by you. I am Atma. This Atma which you are experiencing right now, this I, I am there. So this, I am Atma, this alone is Brahma. So turn within yourself, know your truth. That which is revealing as I in you, it is transcendental, it is timeless. It has no birth, it has no death. It's all because of ignorance, we impose limitation on ourselves. And thereafter make our lives petty, small. So, I am Atma Brahma is the third Mahavakya. The fourth Mahavakya is the declaration that, oh yes, I have realized now. Aham Brahmasmi. I am that. So it is a thunder by a person who has realized. So the teachers, they took these four Mahavakyas, beautiful selection from the four Vedas. And these four Mahavakyas, they, later on when Shankaracharya had four very famous disciples, and he asked those four disciples to have their ashrams where studies and research could be done on the scriptures, and they take care of one part of the country, let us say. So in four corners of India, he toured around, went around the whole country, only walking. There was no conveyance. So he was called as Parivrajaka, walking, and must be a strong fellow, a young man, and with his whole team, going around, living in forest and villages and mountains and other places. And he appointed his 4 disciples in 4 places. He says, now you are in charge. And he gave one Mahavakya to all these ashrams. And the 4 mathas which are established by Adi Shankara, they are responsible for the study, research and propagation of the message of one Mahavakya each. So a very organized fellow he was, a visionary. And these, where are these 4 mathas? It's interesting, Sometime whenever you go, you can visit them. They are still existing. And from that time onwards, the tradition of their Shishyas, they become the Shankaracharya. And after their death, their disciple. And the tradition is going on till today. These 4 mathas are there. One is there in the Himalayas. It is called Jyotirmatha. Second is there in the Dwarka, Gujarat. Third is in Karnataka, Sringeri Math. Fourth is in Jagannath Puri, Orissa. So one is in the western side of the country, eastern side, north and northwest. So 4 areas he went, and they're very big, respected pilgrim centers also. A lot of people used to come there. So he put one of his disciples each and gave them that now you are responsible for the study of Upanishads, of Vedanta, and specifically the research of one Mahavakya each. Another interesting thing, correlated with this is that the teachers of all these 4 mathas, they were given different clothes to wear and a unique name. So the name and form of the teachers of that tradition was supposed to be changed so that people can identify. Dresses are always so that not only you have an identity, but people also can relate to you accordingly. So we have what is called as Dashanami Sampradaya. So 10 names he selected, and all of us are supposed to have one of those 10 names. This Dashanama, today I am from Saraswati, Atmananda Saraswati, because my Guru was Saraswati. And there was Giri and Vanam and all that kind of Sagar. So such kind of names, 10 names he selected. So he could think of all that, I am technically connected with Sringeri Math of Karnataka. So my teacher and my students also, my disciples also become connected to Sringeri Math. And they always have the name of, from my point of view, if I give sannyas to anybody, they also become Saraswati. Till of course I changed their name deliberately, but which there's no reason why I will and I should. So Ram is also going to become a Saraswati soon. and you are going to get connected with Sringeri Math tradition. So the Shankaracharya, he organized that. The first Acharya of Sringeri was Sureshwaracharya. He was one of the disciples. He was the first Acharya, and he did great work. He was very big scholar. Anyway, that is, the discussion of these 4 Vedas and 4 Mahavakyas, and which all Upanishads come in every Veda. So this is all general knowledge. And all these things, they are worthy to be known by everybody. So simple and important facts, basic facts. Now the Upanishad which we are going to study now is from Yajurveda. So Yajurveda, this Upanishad, why this name Ishawashya Upanishad? Ishawashya is the first word of this Upanishad. The first mantra starts with Ishavasyamidam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat. So it starts with this, and therefore the name of this Upanishad is correlated with that first word. Every Upanishad doesn't have that system. Some Upanishads, they have their names as per the teacher of that tradition. Some will have depending upon the content of Upanishads. So there are different methodologies why the name has started in particular way. But of course, the suffix of Upanishads will be there in every name. Ishawashya Upanishad, Prashna Upanishad, Mandukya Upanishad, Mundak Upanishad. So Upanishads will be common. So what is the meaning of Upanishad? Now I have told you why Ishawashya was added there. But what is this Upanishad? Why this word? What is the meaning of this word? So very interesting meaning. And that we will discuss tomorrow. So today already 1 hour has gone. We will continue with the subject of the secret and the implications of the word Upanishad. Upanishad, it is formed by one word, Shad. Shad, the root is Shad. And there are 2 prefixes there, Upa and Ni. There are 2 prefixes on this Shad Dhatu. When Upa, Ni are added to Shad, then it has a very definite meaning. So what is that meaning? That we will discuss tomorrow. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om Namah Parvati Pate. Har Har Mahadev. Narmade Har. Bolo Ganga Maiya Ki Jai.